What's good, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the Is podcast with your host, yours truly, he is I, and I am back, Jai Shields, here on this Friday, May the 9th, the year 2025. We got a jam-packed show here for you as we enter this weekend. Obviously, the NBA playoffs in between games 2 and 3 in the conference semifinals. We'll get to the Knicks and the Celtics. Got plenty to say regarding that series. The Thunder showed some grit, showed some toughness the other night. They tied that series up at a game apiece as the series shifts from OKC to the Mile High City. The Pacers have the Cavs on the ropes, up 2-0 in that series as the series will shift from Cleveland to Indianapolis coming up later on this evening. Obviously, the Wolves and the Warriors from last night got plenty of things to say about Draymond Green and his tone-deaf, ignorant-ass comments. Also, some football stuff. Excuse me. Justin Tucker got cut by the Ravens right after we did the show for you on Monday. Give you my 2 cents on that. George Pickens trade, I give my 2 cents on that. And my wish list, if you will, for the 2025 NFL season kickoff game, the Thanksgiving games I want, the Christmas games I want, and the primetime Bengal games I want, with the schedule release coming up next week, officially in full on Wednesday. Next week is finals week for yours truly, so I'm not quite too confident that we'll be able to get 2 shows in this week. Probably I'll be able to do just the one, but with finals coming up and it being, coming down the home stretch for yours truly with school, and I tell you, if there's a special place. I won't say where or what it is, but there's a unique special place for professors that give out these group projects that has students going on wild goose chases and going all around and throughout the mulberry bush trying to track down classmates they didn't speak to for the first 14 to 15 weeks of the semester. By the way, your final grade for the semester, it depends and relies and rests in the hands and of the mentals and of the preparation of a classmate that you spoke all about 5 words to the first 13, 14, 15 weeks of the semester, and all of a sudden week 16, 17 roll around, you're going to need to depend on them for a group project because that's going to count as your final grade. Just give me the goddamn final exam and let me take it and be gone with it, so I know that if I fail it or if I ace the damn thing, I know that my exam and my final grade rested in the hands of me. My final exam, my final grade rested in the hands of me, myself, and I, not some random classmate who I would know from Adam that I spoke all but 2 words to in the previous classes all semester long. Oh my God, does that burn my ass and chap my ass and piss me off when professors want to fuck around and get cute and give out final big ass group projects as the final exam. Just give me the fucking test so I can take it, study it, rely on myself and my own mental academic intangibles, and I can be done with it, and I'd have to worry about checking in and following up with text messages and group me's and all that bullshit nonsense. It's enough. It's enough. Let me rely on my own damn grade, my own wit, my own know-how, my own work ethic for my grade. I should not have to rely on 35 other people. I'm exaggerating, but on a whole random collection group of people. And it's not like it was in middle school and high school where we got classes with these people all throughout the day and night, where we day in and day out, Monday through Friday, uninterrupted from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. It's not that dynamic in college. Far from it. Far from it. The only time in college you may see a certain individual with me that once or twice or 3 times in a given week when you have class with them. Unless you want to hunt them down, do some work, get their number, and find a way to hang out outside of class. Me, you know how I roll, how I operate. I come to class, more importantly, do whatever I got to do, sit my ass down, show up, participate in class conversations, follow along with the lecture, and be gone with it, get in, get out, come upstairs, do the radio, do the podcast, and get on my merry way. It's just I'm not one of those individuals that likes to frolic and fuck around campus all damn day playing a different world IRL. It's not that important to me. It's not. But anyway, I digress. Let us start our show with the game 2 games that were over the span of the last 48 to 72 hours. And let me get the one game out of the way from last night, more so specifically because I got plenty to say about Draymond Green, that moron. The Timberwolves did what they had to do. They're able to withstand that period where Anthony Edwards had to come out of the game for a little while, came right back. His ankle injury is definitely something we got to monitor. The duration, I should say, of this series, as the series will resume tomorrow night in the city of San Francisco. But the Timberwolves did what they had to do, got out to an early lead. The Warriors made them sweat a little bit in the second half, but they won that game in commanding fashion. Need a little bit better from Jimmy Butler. 17 points on 13 field goal attempts with Steph Curry out is not going to be good enough to get it done. If they were counting on Draymond Green shooting themselves to yet another victory, they were sadly mistaken. If they were counting on Buddy Hield to continue his genius from Game 7 against Houston on Sunday night and obviously Game 1 the other night, I mean, you can't put all your eggs in one basket on Buddy Hield and Draymond Green shooting the lights out of the building. I expect and need better from Jimmy Butler, especially heading into game number 3 tomorrow night, because if they fall into a 2-1 hole, things could get ugly fast before you know it if you're Golden State, so you have to keep that in mind. But the Timberwolves with a solid response to tie the series up at a game apiece. But for Draymond Green, and this is honestly the big and classic NBA, we have these great NBA playoffs where the games become the story, but yet here we go back to the same old song and dance and foolishness. For Draymond Green to get in front of his locker and to basically crash out and throw a damn temper tantrum towards the media after the game and saying, quote, the agenda to continue to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. For that to come out of Draymond Green's mouth when he leads the universe in dirty plays. I mean, not a game has gone by for the Warriors this postseason where Draymond Green has not executed in questionable, borderline, if not 130% dirty, flagrant behavior that are not basketball plays. Throwing elbows to players' eyes, throwing elbows to players' mouths, stomping and kicking players' heads on the floor when they're down as he's getting up, running back in transit. I mean, the guy leads the universe now. You can literally go on to Twitter and find a full 2-minute compilation of all of Draymond Green's dirty and devious just flagrant activities that have nothing to do with being a basketball player on the floor, active on the NBA level. You can find a compilation. So for him to sit up here and play the angry black man when he literally was tongue lashing an official, cussing him up and down the walls last night and didn't get thrown out of the game. It's like Draymond, he gets the one technical just so the referees say, okay, we gave him a technical, what do you want from us? And then it's like a trigger or a kickstart for Draymond Green to show his natural ass the whole rest of the game. Kicking players' heads on the floor, throwing elbows left and right at people's eyes, at people's throat, at people's mouth, knocking them upside the head with the elbow, stomping them on his way, getting up after a loose ball, kicking them when going up for a rebound, trying to disguise it as a basketball play. I mean, the guy, he's shown you. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. He's shown you what he is. And for the NBA and the NBA officials to be so damn gutless and to be so damn spineless, because God forbid if they actually crack down on Draymond Green's antics, he'd be suspended for another playoff game, a la Game 5 against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2016 Finals, which in large part turned the series around. It's pathetic. It honestly is pathetic. It is, because they're scared shitless because the Warriors and Green still haven't shut up about it. Well, he was giving – no, nonsense. He cut the damn fool. He collected all those technicals, all those flagrants. He got one too many times. His ass sits. And you guys know me. I got no problem no problem with physical, hard-nosed, blue-collar basketball. We've seen it throughout the entire playoffs for the most part, and it's been a thrill to watch. But there's a difference between being hard-nosed and blue-collar and being dirty. And being dirty. And if Draymond Green played 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50 years ago, his goofy shit would have been nipped in the bud a long time ago. Long time ago. But because the modern-day NBA player is to a certain degree softer, not all of them are built like a Draymond Green or like a Nikola Jokic or like a Giannis Antetokounmpo or like a LeBron James. I mean, you got NBA players, no disrespect. You find more NBA players that are built like John Morant and Chet Holmgren nowadays than you would a LeBron, a Shaq. You get the idea. It's a Bill Laimbeer. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So in large part, there's nobody within his peer circle of NBA players that could hold their own if they say, you know what, enough of this nonsense, and they go ahead and want to engage in fisticuffs with Draymond. There's nobody that's on his weight level for the most part across the NBA. What John Moran or SGA gets into a pissing match with Draymond, is that a fair fight to you? But one of these days he's going to get his. Unless he stops this or the NBA stops it for him, he is going to run into a player, whether it be Jokic if they see him in the next round, or Hartenstein if they see him in the next round, or Al Horford if they see Boston in the finals, or Giannis sometime next year. He's going to run into a player because the rest of the NBA player constituency, they'll never say this out loud because they're all about protecting one another under the umbrella of the NBA Players Association. But you can notice that there's a good amount of NBA players that are sick and tired of his foolishness. I mean, the stuff he did to Mike Conley, throwing what's his face, Rudy Gobert last year in a headlock. I mean, it's enough for Draymond Green. Fight breaks out, little shoving match breaks out. He feels the need to rush to Rudy Gobert and throw him in a headlock. He steps and levitates off of Sabonis' chest in the playoffs a few years ago. All those times he kicked Steven Adams in the nuts. And Draymond Green wants to sit up here and play the victim when he literally has made a living off of being a menace to society on the basketball court. Piss off, Draymond. Seriously. Piss off. Piss off with your victimization. Piss off with your race baiting. It's enough. You don't do anybody any favor. Same thing to a similar extent, like I said with Shedeur. When the Draymond Greens of the world show their natural ass by saying goofy shit like this, all it does is feed into the boy who cried wolf fable, and it makes any claim of any NBA player somewhere down the line where they are being a victim of either racial bias, racism, or the element of race is being used against them in a given situation, either perpetuated or reported on by the media. That ex-NBA player won't have a leg to stand on to the masses. And a serious cultural conversation / debate needs to be. They won't have a leg to stand on because you have douchebags like Draymond Green sit up here and say stupid ass shit like this. You can't get more stupid, more ignorant, more clueless, more narcissistic than what he said after the game yesterday. The agenda to continue to keep making me look like the angry black man. You are the fucking angry black man. On the basketball court, at least. Off the court, you keep your nose clean. Give yourself credit. Off the court, you keep your nose clean. In between the lines, you are the angry black man. Hey, hate to tell you, black man, hate to tell you this, hate to piss on your bonfire, but if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. One apple plus another apple equals 2. I mean, come on. People, something about society that we do not want to believe that fat meat is greasy it's and a hot stove is hot. It blows my mind. Blows my mind. Nobody came up with this narrative, and it's not a narrative if the narrative is proven based on facts, data, statistics, and visual evidence that it's true. It's not a narrative. Tortoise and the hare is a narrative. This is not a narrative with Draymond Green. Sorry if facts offend you. He could change it and say, you know what, media, ball is in your court if he cleans up his act. But if he goes ahead in game 3 and steps on Anthony Edwards' ankle as he's driving to the basket, I don't want to sit up here and hear shit talking about, oh, I'm tired of the narrative. People will sit up here making me out to be an angry black man. It's crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. Piss the hell off, Draymond. The guy literally instigated a practice fight with a teammate during training camp. And he's sitting up here and going to say, tired of the... Fuck off, please. I mean, it's just the lack of self-awareness is astonishing.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up.
You can't make this shit up if you tried. You can't make it up. Can't make it. He had the nerve, the temerity, the audacity, the delusional arrogance to fix your face to say something like that. And then as he's saying it, he's crashing out in front of the cameras while saying it. He's saying, I'm not an angry black man, while he's crashing out in front of the cameras. It's like an alcoholic saying, I'm not an alcoholic, as they're shotgunning gin and tonic and Jack Daniels one after another. I mean, you must be kidding me. I'm not a heroin addict, as I'm actively shooting H into my right forearm. Can't make it up, man. Cannot make it up if you tried. But the Warriors got to do better collectively on the floor heading into Game 3 tomorrow night. Warriors and Wolves is game number 1. Nuggets and the Thunder. I'll save the Knicks and the Celtics for last. Nuggets and the Thunder. What an interesting series that was. So first off, the big story through the first 2 games, obviously, you got to go back to game 1. I do not like the idea of fouling up 3 to prevent your opponent from attempting, let alone maybe making a game-tying 3-point shot when there's less than, say, 20 seconds left in regulation. I don't like that philosophy. I'd rather take my chances. If they're not going to call a timeout, let them play. If there's something within their offensive setup that I don't like, and if I have one available, I'll call the timeout. Outside of that, I'd rather take my chances on the guy dribbling the ball up the floor to either make a bad pass, a ball going out of bounds on a bad pass, getting dribbled off a player's foot or leg, an offensive foul, a shot clock violate. I'd rather take my chances on any of those situations happening rather than me immediately foul, especially if I don't have a foul to give, rather than me immediately foul, send them to the free throw line and basically play the reverse Uno card with the free throw game, have them send them to the line and put the idea in their head, what if they make the first one, do they make the second one, intentionally miss so they can grab it. The key, especially when you're winning a tight game like that, is to make the game as short as humanly possible. Not to extend the game, but to truncate it. The least amount of possessions and or time an opponent has to tie the game or take the lead, and with less than 20 seconds to go in a basketball game, the better. I never, ever, ever have liked, nor I understand why teams do it, but I do not agree with nor have liked the philosophy of fouling, nursing a 3-point lead to send a team to the free throw line so they don't have an opportunity at a game-tying or game-winning 3 to put them out in front, send it to overtime, or to win the game outright. And what happened? Alex Caruso immediately fouls Jokic with 12.9 seconds left when Oklahoma City was up 117 to 114, sends Jokic to the line, makes it 2 free throws, and then after Oklahoma City calls a timeout after Jokic makes the 2 free throws, Jokic comes off the floor, which, okay, fine. They take him off the floor, whatever. But the mistake is that when SGA gets the slam dunk to extend the Oklahoma City lead to 3, they make the huge, and this is totally on Dagnall, the head coach. You can't, under that circumstance, after you get a slam to extend your lead to 3, where a three-pointer ties the game, does not give Denver the lead with the best player on their team off the floor and they have no timeouts. You can't, under any set of circumstances, give them a life raft and provide them an opportunity to get Jokic back out on the floor when he wasn't originally on the floor 5 seconds prior. You just can't do that. SGA gets the slam. OKC immediately fouls on Denver's ensuing possession with 10.7 seconds left to go. Jokic comes back on the floor. Aaron Gordon makes the 2 free throws. They pull within a point. Jokic comes back out there on the floor during the free throws. Denver fouls. OKC goes to the line, misses the 2 free throws. Westbrook driving, makes a nice pass to Gordon, hits the game-winning shot. I mean, that, my friends, is, you know what that is? That's getting too cute. That your inexperienced young team has shown what it takes to win in the regular season, and I get to the bounce back win in game 2 momentarily. But that's a young, inexperienced team going up against a former champion in a tight playoff game, panicking and getting cute late, and they stole victory from the jaws of defeat. That's what that was. You can't foul when your opponent has no more timeouts left on the table and there's about, 10 seconds left to go in the game to give them an opportunity to bring their best player out there on the floor and crunch. You just can't do it. The first foul I don't like, but that one wasn't the one that cost them the game. What cost them the game is when SGA hit the slam and they immediately fouled again on Denver's ensuing possession, allowing Jokic to come back into the game. That's what got them in trouble, on top of Aaron Gordon doing his part and making the 2 free throws to boot. That's not championship basketball. Now, maybe next close game they play, that comes in game 3, 4, who knows? Now, they did a sensational job of bouncing back, getting that win in game 2, 149 to 106. They were pissed off. They were locked in, raring to go, did not take this opportunity to get the game they should have won the first time for granted. They put up sensational numbers, they being SGA with 34 points, 4 and 8. Chet Holmgren had a double-double, 15 and 11, had a solid game. Joe coming off the bench had 14 points. Wiggins also had 10 as well. They're a collective team effort, and they just did not leave the game in doubt, essentially, after the first quarter. I think they were up 20 by the end of the first quarter. So good job by a young team using that loss to piss them off, spark their fire, and did an excellent, solid job in bouncing back. That, my friends, is how you bounce back off and after that disaster class at home in game 1. But word to the wise, next time the Nuggets peel Jokic off the floor in crunch time with less than 15 seconds to go, they have no more timeouts, you don't foul. You play defense and you take your chances that Aaron Gordon or Russell Westbrook or Jamal Murray doesn't beat you with Jokic on the pine and they got no time. I mean, you in that situation, you have to trust your defense and take your chances. And if Aaron Gordon or if the aforementioned Westbrook makes a game-winning play, you tip your hat. But you can't give them an opportunity for them to bring their best player back on the court when they don't have any timeouts. That can't happen. That can't happen the rest of this series. And if they live to tell about it, that can't happen against Golden State or Minnesota, or if they make it to the finals, that can't happen with the Knicks and Brunson, a la game 4 at Madison Square Garden about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Just that they gotta do better than that. excellent bounce back victory on Wednesday night, but next close game, they can't replicate that again. This is not the Memphis Grizzlies. These are the champions from 2 seasons ago with the best player on the planet, Nikola Jokic. You got to execute and have a better train of thought in crunch time of a playoff game than what we saw the other night, because that was unacceptable. They gave that way away to Denver on a silver platter. Can't happen. In terms of the Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, first off, I would be very concerned about the Cavs going into games 3 and 4 because of the injury woes that they have to those 3 guys. I would be very concerned. Also, and I've had this thought for the better part of the entire season. I told you guys that I was not impressed throughout the course of the regular season by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Certain teams you watch, even in the NBA, during this quote unquote youth movement where the league has gotten younger, and the teams led by Steph Curry and LeBron James, guys, they automatically, even Giannis and the Bucks post their championship in 2021. Though the signature star players have not automatically always gotten the top 1 or 2 seeds in the NBA playoffs in the last few years. And I am very cautious to think just because the team won 50 to 60-something games throughout the course of a regular season, broke and set all sorts of records throughout the regular year, they come into the playoffs as a 1 or a 2 seed. Again, unlike the Celtics with no championships, I am very hesitant to think that team all of a sudden is going to come out like gangbusters and set the world on fire and waltz their way to an NBA championship without having to show some grit and some toughness that honestly only the certain amount of teams have that possess them, are the ones that have hardware sitting on their mantle at home. So I think the Cavs are in the thick of this right now. The Pacers are there. I said it yesterday on a podcast I did with I believe Sam Whitaker is his name. I did his show, the Witty Side of Sports. Check that out on his social media pages. I'll repost it, retweet it if I have not done so already. But I said it on his show on Thursday. I say it here on my show. Sometimes you run into teams in sports that aren't necessarily championship teams, but still does not negate the fact that they are good playoff teams. The Cavalier teams with LeBron outside of 2016, I understand weak Eastern Conference, those were good playoff teams. The Cleveland Indians teams in the 90s were good playoff teams. My Cincinnati Bengals in football are good playoff teams. Not championship football teams, but good playoff teams. Meaning they get in the dance and they don't waste your time. They make sure they win a round or 2, make it to a conference championship game or a conference final, and they make it worth your while. The Houston Astros historically, albeit they only got 2 championships in between 2017 and last year, they are one of the better playoff teams we've seen in Major League Baseball in a long, 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 long time. They're a good playoff team. The Indiana Pacers are a good playoff team. They had an underwhelming start to the season, but they got themselves together, got themselves healthy, more importantly, locked in, made a playoff push, and now look at them. They're 2 wins away from returning to the Eastern Conference Finals back-to-back seasons, 24 and maybe in the 2025 season. So, and Halliburton is a solid player. He's a gamer, high basketball IQ. How he was ever voted the most overrated basketball player in the NBA, and guys like James Harden weren't, is going to go down as one of the biggest mysteries in the history of the 21st century version of NBA basketball. He is a phenomenal. They don't have a great superstar. They don't have they don't have an SGA. They don't have a Nikola Jokic. They don't have an Anthony Edwards. They do not have a Steph Curry. But they're a solid, complete unit that's well coached, that finds a way to shine bright when the lights shineth the brightest. And that's what the Indiana Pacers have done in the span of last year and obviously through the first 2 games against the best regular season team in the Eastern Conference this year and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Can they keep it up with the game 3 tonight? I think all the pressure tonight is on Cleveland. Especially if Cleveland cannot find a way to win a game either tonight or if they cannot find a way to win a game and at least at the bare bones minimum get a split in Indianapolis this weekend, they're in trouble. If they can't get a split in Indianapolis this weekend, their series, especially given the injuries, their series is going to be as over and is going to end as quick as their championship hopes and aspirations arrived when they opened up against Miami 2 weeks ago. They have got to find a way to go out there on the road coming up this weekend and get the damn job done. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Donovan Mitchell's healthy, and I heard with Kenny Atkinson after their collapse the other night. Well, you got to talk about the injuries who were banged up. Well, hold on. If you were able to get out to a 20-plus point margin of a lead to start the game, and injuries had nothing to do with it, why do I got to listen to you sit up here and tell me that injuries had something to do with you guys losing the lead? I mean, the fact matter of it is, and I understand injuries are big time. The Knicks around this time last year stayed in the trainer's office. But the fact of the matter of it is they still had Donovan Mitchell out there on the floor in game one and in game two. Did not affect, no injuries, no bugaboos, like Anthony Edwards with his Steph Curry with his hamstring, none of that. Jimmy Butler earlier in the spring with his pelvic injury, no issues with Donovan Mitchell. You got to be able to find a way and answer the bell and deliver. And so far in this series, they have not done so. They have not done so. And if they lose in embarrassing fashion and go quietly into the night, they're going to hear about it. Donovan Mitchell's going to hear about it, and about the conversation of him being some big-time superstar. It's going to be the end of that conversation. Kenny Atkinson is going to hear about it, and the rest of that basketball team is going to hear about it. Okay, even in the city of Cleveland. Now, and that's the town that had LeBron James for about approximately damn near 2 decades combined, who played in many of the NBA Finals and won a championship in 2016, 9 years ago. Even with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the city of Cleveland, that's not going to be suffice. Even in that city with that fan base, that's not going to play. At the end of season press conferences, that's not going to play. When they had the best record in the Eastern Conference, and a lot of Cleveland Cavaliers fans were saying all this talk and all this love about the Boston Celtics. Look at us, Cleveland Cavaliers. We're going to go to the NBA Finals. We're a big-time basketball. And you lay an egg in the playoffs coming up, lay an egg in the playoffs this round against Indiana. We will not, under any circumstances, make you forget about it in the slightest. So I am very concerned for the Cavs going forward here this postseason. But in terms of the Pacers, I tell you this. First off, the underrated play in that comeback in game one is Naismith's dunk to make it 119-114 Cleveland after Siakam's missed free throw with 47.9 seconds to go. And another thing that played into it also from a Cavalier perspective that you didn't like, and this is why I cannot listen to Atkinson bitch and moan about and play the injury card. Oh, look at poor us, cry us a river. Look, we dealt with injuries when you had 2 undisciplined fouls that also played a part into the Pacers' comeback in the closing seconds in game one. He had the offensive foul on the in-swing inbounds pass after Naismith's putback dunk at 119-114 with 45 seconds to go. Not to mention later on with 12 and a half seconds to go, you had Donovan Mitchell commit the shooting foul on Halliburton, which sent them to the line, made the free throws, and allowed Indiana to pull within one at 119, pull within one possession at 119-117. So I can't listen again. No, I can't listen to the injury card excuse. Can't hear it, won't tolerate it, got no patience to listen to that argument. I don't. Because the Cleveland Cavaliers shot themselves in the foot quite mightily in the closing seconds in the fourth quarter of game one. And then Halliburton, like I said, magnificent. Down 3 with 15 seconds to go, attacks the rim, foul, hits the free throw, intentionally misses the second one, crashes the glass, gets the board, and gets the ball in the paint, and with 12 seconds left has the wherewithal to come back to the outside, dribble the clock out, and hits a step back three to give him the lead. I would love to know. I understand there's parts about him that you don't like. He hasn't won a championship yet. You wouldn't consider him a superstar, and obviously the foolishness with his father, as we discussed about a week or so ago, pisses you off with going on the floor with Giannis. But leave your emotions and his father's hijinks out of it. The guy is a hell of a basketball player that does not shy away from the big lights of the playoffs when the going gets tough. And that you got to commend him for. You must commend him for. In terms of the Thunder and the Nuggets, right quick, getting to that game 3, I skipped over it. The Nuggets got to find a way to bounce back. Arguably, they had no business winning game number 1. So realistically, in a perfect world, they should be down 2-0 in this series instead of it being 1-1. They got to find a way to stop SGA, to neutralize his offensive attack, and to find a way to get an increase of production outside of obviously Nikola Jokic. Aaron Gordon has had his moments, but I mean, part of it you take. They had a bad game, flush down the toilet. It's time for Denver to put together. They put together an ass whooping against the LA Clippers on Saturday night. They need to return the favor and to take a 2-1 series lead here going forward. And it's so imperative that you protect home court. If we've learned anything in the conference semis, even go back to the first round, if it's anything to you at all, you got to find a way to defend the home court and get yourself the 2 victories in games 3 and 4 coming up. You win games 3 and 4, you head back to game 5 with an opportunity to win the series. You at least win a game. You extend the series to a possible 6 game if you come up small in games either 4 or no, in games either 4 or 5. But flush it, move on to the next. You got to be able to at least walk away with 1 victory on your home floor. 1 victory. And I need to see a complete 180 in terms of intensity, attention to detail, and focus from Denver heading into game number 3 than what I saw in game 2 the other night from them in the conference semi-series against Oklahoma City. Now, let's go to the Knicks and Celtics series, because I got a laundry list of things to say regarding the Boston Celtics. This is what happens, and let this be word to the wise to you other NBA teams out there, those that are in the playoffs and those that aspire to return to the playoffs, if not make it for the first time in a while in the 25-26 season. This is what happens, and we've seen it all the time, especially in the baseball postseason. This is what happens when you live and die by your goofy Excel spreadsheets and falling in love with the three-point shot, and come hell to high water, we're going to sit back and we're going to launch 90 trillion threes for 4 quarters and 48 minutes worth of time, and damn moving the ball inside, damn putting a big man out there on the floor and getting points the old-fashioned way at the bare bones minimum, working the opposition and drawing as many fouls as humanly possible to get them into the penalty. This is what happens when you live and die by the analytics and by the three-point shot. The Boston Celtics collapse in both games, games 1 and 2, was some of the most pathetic, disgusting, egregious, mind-numbing, most infuriating brand of NBA basketball I have seen since the 18 Rockets and that Game 7 disaster against the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs a handful of Mays ago. This basketball team, not when they're at their best, but when they're at their worst, they are a stubborn, lazy, pathetic, spineless, unclutched, lazy collection and dumb collection of individuals. This team that I saw the last 2 nights had no heart, no killer instinct, and apparently no brain and no concept of common sense. Because how many ISO three-point contest type plays, if you're Joe Mazzulla, can you draw up? How many ISO three-point contest half-ass plays can you draw up? How many? Jayson Tatum. And listen, I will never be one. I do not classify myself to be a Jayson Tatum hater, nor do I think he is one of the more overrated players in the NBA. He is a top 5 player in the NBA, but I tell you this, he's no higher than 4. On his best day, he's no higher than 4. And listen, if you have a beef and you disagree and say, Giant, he's not even top 5, he's not 4 or 5, you know what? After performances like I saw on Monday and Wednesday night, I can't argue. First off, game 1. It's 100 points apiece. Now, keep in mind, the Celtics tied the game at 100 apiece off of a layup. Here it is. Jayson Tatum is towards the sideline. Al Horford is setting a pick. Why in the world am I looking at Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White standing still in isolation with literally not a soul in a New York Knicks uniform that is even prepared to guard the paint? Every single New York Knicks has it's a 5-on-4. 5-on-4 with Horford setting the pick. Every single Knicks player is prepared and is standing to guard the outside shot. And you mean to tell me that they had a timeout to work with? You're telling me if you're Joe Mazzulla, you can't say, hey, timeout. We see a weakness here. Let's reset, change our game plan, attack and slap. They give it to us coming out of the timeout side out of bounds, and get whatever point that comes easiest to us for us to take the lead, to put the pressure on them to either go for the tie or to go for the 3-point dagger from 3. But they don't do that. They let it play. They don't call it timeout. And what happens? We get sloppy. We don't get a shot off. Knicks don't get a shot off. Game goes to overtime. I'm looking at it. Literally. I pull up my computer. Literally. The paint is wide the hell open. Not a New York Knicks player is standing within the vicinity. I mean, the paint can't get more wide open than this. Have Drew Holiday cut towards the basket. Or Derek White. I believe that's Mikal Bridges that's guarding him. Have Derek White cut inside. Chuck it to him. See if you get a quick 2. If you're lucky, you get an and 1. You extend the lead to 3. But to just pound the basketball and just go and go and go. Jayson Tatum, clank. He and Jaylen Brown put up a brick house in game 1. A brick house. Send anybody inside? Nope. Step back 3. Boom. Brick. And then the first possession of overtime. Go for the layup. Al Horford has the ball inside. Jalen Brunson is caught lacking. He's got a favorable matchup up against Karl Anthony Towns, who they killed all regular season long. Have Al Horford put his big ass on Karl Anthony Towns' body and bank one off the glass for an easy 2. Again, you get lucky, you get fouled, you go to the line, you walk away with 3 points. Instead, he kicks it outside. They can't get an open look. Shot clock violation, 24 seconds, Knicks ball. I mean, you can't be dumber in a situation late in a high-leverage moment against the New York Knicks in a playoff game than what we saw from the Celtics in game 1. Can you be dumber? And then the final possession of the game, it's Al Horford versus Josh Hart. Wide open in the paint. We got two Knicks players on the outside. Two back, towards the sideline, 3 back towards the sideline. Brown has the ball. Bridges is on Jaylen Brown. Al Horford is wide open with a clear size advantage over Josh Hart. Just kick it to him. Just kick it to him. Why wait for Bridges to collapse inside and giving him an opportunity to make a play on the ball out there towards the wing? Just take it and chuck it inside. Get it away from him. So if nothing else, it shifts all the defensive attention from one part of the floor to the other part of the floor. I mean, I can freeze frame right here. Al Horford has got inside leverage, wide open. Literally, he catches it right here and puts it through. They come within a point. If he gets fouled, they have an opportunity to tie the game. Instead, they leave Jaylen Brown out there on an island with Bridges, allowing him to make a play on the ball. When Bridges' back is towards the sideline, I believe that's Jalen. No, that's OG Anunoby. His back is towards the damn baseline. Josh Hart's back is towards the opposite sideline where the inbound pass from Derek White came from. It's just, you can't get worse than this. This team won the NBA championship last year. And then in game number two, same stupid thing, settling for threes. What are we doing? The definition of insanity is doing the same damn thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Game number 2, same thing. Hoist up 90 trillion through. I mean, did you guys know this? Did you guys know? I'm going to read you these stats. I hope you're sitting down because you're going to fall off your chair once I read them to you. Okay, did you guys know that the Boston Celtics hoisted up in the last 2 games, games 1 and 2 of the series, 2 games, they hoisted up 100 threes. 100 threes and made only 25 of them. They shot 25% from 3, not for a game, in 2 games. In 2 games combined, they shot 25% from the field. That's not in a game. That's not in a quarter. That's not in a half. In 2 combined games. In 4 and 4 and 4 plus the half. In a total of 9 quarters of basketball, they shot, combined as a team, 25% in 9 quarters worth of basketball. Do we put a body on a body and drive inside and take advantage of the size advantage that I don't care about Porzingis being out due to his dopey illness. I could care less. You beat the Knicks like a drum for 4 games in a regular season. Why abandon what worked? So we could play 3-point shooting contest because the asinine Excel spreadsheets from the jackass that's got the MIT sweatshirt on says, oh, if you thought more threes, the likelihood of us making them is higher than if we take 90 trillion layups and we have a layup line all game long. Dumb basketball. ISO ball, dribble with the other 4 Celtic players just standing there spectating. They missed 14 consecutive shots during the next 20-2 run in the 4th quarter in game 2. How is that acceptable? And then you're Joe Mazzulla, you don't make not one adjustment, not one. It's like the baseball team that's hell-bent on hitting home runs hand over fist in a playoff game, and like the Orioles, hell-bent, let's go up to the plate and try to slug the ball to Pratt Street. Hey, guys, the home run approach at the plate, the all-or-nothing approach at the plate is not working. Instead of swinging for the fences, how about you lay down a bunt? Lay down a bunt or just make soft contact and poke a ball into the opposite field. Swinging for the fences and they're popping up and striking out hand over fist, but we're going to keep on being hell-bent on swinging to the fences, swinging for the fences. Same thing with the Celtics. Hell-bent on shooting a bunch of threes. And if the first 15 don't go in, shit, what the hell? We'll shoot 15 more. And if those don't go in, we'll shoot another 15 more. Just stupid. And Jayson Tatum's game-losing turnover came on what? An attempt to kick the ball outside for another 3. I mean, you can't play. You can't play worse than that. You can't. I mean, and there was another play in this sequence. I'm not sure if it was game 1 or game 2. Let me double check. But there was another sequence. Tatum is literally wide open out there on this game 2. Wide open on the wing. This was at 86-79 with 3:41 to go in the fourth quarter. And Brunson hits the deck. There is not a Knicks player in white within the vicinity of Al Horford. So with Brunson hitting the deck, falling down, he had 2 choices. Either drive to the basket personally, get fancy, get cute, maybe set up Al Horford for an alley-oop, or just chest pass the ball to Al Horford and gets the easy dunk or layup of his own choosing that an 8-year-old could execute, and you keep the train moving, you extend the lead to 88-79. You extend your lead up to 9. Instead, he sells for 3, clank. Just dumb, atrocious basketball. Completely unacceptable. I mean, listen, I got more numbers for you. 25 from 100 from 3. And Jayson Tatum, and this is why, for those that want to say he's overrated, I can't argue with you. Because in games at home against a team that they kicked the living piss out of at the course of the regular season, Jayson Tatum has got to do better in his last 2 games, game 1 and 2 of this series, than shoot 12 to 42 from the field, 5 of 20 from 3, making 28% of his shots and shooting 25% from 3. He's got to give me better than that. In the fourth quarter overtime in game 1, he scored 4 points, was 1 of 8 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3, and only was able to get to the line in, 17 minutes worth of basketball twice. I mean, come on. $42 missed threes. This is following game 1. 42 missed threes by the Celtics are the most ever, in a playoff game, breaking the record of 40 set earlier this postseason in the game 5 with the T-Wolves in their win against the Lakers at the Staples Center. And even then, the Wolves had the wherewithal to give the ball inside to the big man so he could get an easy 2 points every possession of the show. They had the wherewithal to say, you know what, we're going to keep on clanking threes, but you know what, we see the clear size disadvantage inside with Rudy Gobert up against the Lakers that had no damn center on the floor because J.J. Redick thinks he invented the game of basketball. Shit, let's divert off the 3-point shooting contest game plan and just get back to old school basketball and attack the paint with Rudy Gobert, which they did and ended up winning the game. These are defending champions. Time leading in this series, 81 minutes and 4 seconds for the Boston Celtics. Time leading in this series for the Knicks, a grand whopping total of 12 minutes and 15 seconds. And the 2 games put together. That, my friends, is astonishing. Astonishing. The Celtics, game 1 in the second half, minus 16-point differential, 60 3-point attempts, 40 in game 2, 45 misses in game 1, 30 in game 2. Paint field goal attempts only 31 in game 1, 42 in game 2. Opponent 3-point shooting percentage in game 1, a whopping 46%. They tightened up in game 2, only 29. And in game number 2, they had a second half point differential of minus 10. You do the math. That's a negative 26 opponent that's a negative 26 second half point differential in the first 2 games of this series, with a combined 73 field goal attempts from inside. That is not, repeat, is not championship basketball. That is not championship level basketball. I had more numbers here for you in a minute. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Game 1, Jayson Tatum. First half of game 2, Jayson Tatum. 2 points, 1 of 7 from the field. You can't get to the line not one time. Really? Jaylen Brown, 3 points, 1 of 7 from the field, 4 turnovers. He failed to get to the line. You crazy? You crazy, inept, asleep, all of the above? Their performances in this series to start have been downright disgraceful. Downright disgraceful. And again, if you're Joe Mazzulla, swallow your damn pride, call a timeout when the 3 ball's not working, and get a little creative and take advantage of your size that you've used to kick Cat's ass all season long in a regular year. Instead of resorting to Wii Sports Resort 3-point shooting contest when you're bricking every shot you take under the sun. And the Knicks aren't playing Hall of Fame great I'm gonna give them their flowers in a minute, but they're not playing out of their minds great basketball because they faced 2 20-point deficits in both games. But you know what the Knicks, I'll get to the toughness element in a minute, but you know what's also helping the Knicks too? They're not playing stupid. What got the Knicks in trouble against the Pistons, it was they would go through these lulls similar with Boston where they would just play dumb basketball, especially on the offensive side. The Knicks have not played dumb basketball. So the series is far from over, and I'll get to game 3 coming up tomorrow afternoon in a minute. The Knicks aren't necessarily the better basketball team through the 2 games. The Celtics have been the dumber basketball team. Dumber, not as clutch, not as tough mentally and physically, and not as proactive. That's why they're down in this series. Talent-wise, 1 through 5, you still would take Boston over the Knicks. I'm not going to be prisoner of the moment. But what I am learning is that you might take head-to-head Tom Thibodeau over Joe Mazzulla, because he isn't just out-coaching him in this series. He is embarrassing him in this series. Embarrassing him. And if you are a Celtic player, coach, or a fan, you are embarrassed. Embarrassed by your team's performance in these first 2 games. Embarrassed. Now, game 3, they can easily reset the panic button and reset the attitude and the morale within and across the fan base with a solid game 3 victory at MSG tomorrow afternoon. They can easily reset it with the basketball equivalent of a Thanos snap. Easily. And the thing about Jayson Tatum, well, you can't get too high or too low on him, is that he's heard the noise for, 2 days, and now he's going to go into MSG and most likely, go 35-10, and the Celtics win tomorrow afternoon's game by 15 points. So you got to take it case-by-case basis with him. But if you're the Celtics, you treat tomorrow. I understand they came back 3-0 down to force a Game 7 a few years ago in the conference finals against Miami. Point in the matter of it is they forced the Game 7. They didn't win the Game 7. Fact of the matter of it is you lose. I understand there's an element with the Knicks that goes into the element of the longtime teams that haven't won a long time. The Knicks, the Browns, the Detroit Lions, the Bengals, the Orioles, the Pittsburgh. I understand there's that element within that franchise that you can never truly rule things as final until the clock hits 000, or in the baseball team's case, until you get that final series clinching 27th out. But I tell you something right now. They lose on Saturday night, this series is over. Over. They're not coming back from 3-0 down when the Knicks took their heart and spat and pissed on it, winning the 2 games on the road. I think in a sick way, the New York Knicks would kind of sort of rather advance to the conference finals by winning their clinching game at the TD Garden compared to MSG. Some of them, the fans would rather have them win at home. But you mean to tell me right now that that if they were to lose either tomorrow or Monday night, you mean to tell me that there wouldn't be some rumors in that locker room and said, damn, we got an opportunity to send the defending champions home on their home floor? You guys have seen Celtic City and how much joy and pride that Laker team had in winning the NBA Finals on their parquet floor at the old Boston Garden. The Warriors, when they won it in 22, winning that championship on their home floor in their arena. So they have to win tomorrow afternoon, I should say. And how they do it is they don't stay stuck in their ways. They diversify their offensive game plan and their offensive attack. You can shoot your 3-pointers. I'm not saying don't take a 3 throughout the course of the game. I'm not stupid. I'm not naive. But at some point, if you start to get the sense, and this is where coaching, again, like I tell you guys all the time, looms paramount. Regardless what the sport is. Baseball, football, basketball, doesn't matter. Pro level, college, doesn't matter. You get that sense. You get that anxious feeling in your stomach of here we go again with the 3-point shot not working. You get ahead of it before it's too late. You get ahead of it when you're going through a cold spell and you're up 12 or you're up 15 or you're up 20 or you're up 22. You get ahead of it then. You don't continue to fit the square peg into the round hole and you see the lead decrease to 20, 17, to 14, to 11, to 9, to 6, to 5, to 4, and then you blink 3 times, click your heels in the game. You don't wait that long. If it's not working, call a timeout, make the adjustment. And if they adjust to your adjustment and a 3-point look opens up again, then you make the adjustment on the back end. But you don't sit up here and dig your heels in and turn into Mr. Stubborn and say, well, this is what we do because this is our game plan. This is how we play. This is the MO of our basketball team, blah, 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 blah. You see teams throughout various different sports get themselves in trouble when they don't become flexible with their game plan on how to attack an opponent. When a baseball team digs their heels in and says, damn it, we're a home run hitting team. We don't bunt. We don't play small ball. What happens? A lot of times they end up going home. And their stubbornness comes back to bite them in the ass. And then they're going to be sitting in all of a sudden in 5 days to a week's time, they're sitting up in Cancun saying, damn, if only we decided to bunt and play a little bit of small ball when we had the opportunity instead of being stubborn and thinking that our way was going to work by hook or by crook, and we're just going to slug our way to victory when we had many of opportunities to change our game plan. Playing the coulda, shoulda, woulda game in Cancun. Or football teams. We're a passing offense. We don't run the football or vice versa. And then they sit up in Cancun having lost a playoff game or a championship game, wishing and yearning that they had another opportunity to go to run instead of throwing the football 50 times a game, or maybe open up the passing game a little bit more instead of running the football on 3rd and 8. And basketball, it's the same need apply. They don't stop. Joe Mazzulla's stubbornness is going to get this team sent to Cancun around this time next week if he don't stop. Not saying, again, don't shoot any threes, but make the damn adjustment. If the Knicks are either guarding the threes to a T and or they're not falling, try something else. When you're shooting 25 for 100, even math comes out to 25% from three. And again, 9 quarters of basketball through the first 2 games of this series. You got to go to a plan B. Driver's not working, go to the 3-wood. You're swinging for the fences. Maybe it's time you lay down a bunt down the third base line. Passing offense, you're trying to take the top off the defense, calling go routes and calling a deep post for your slot and your Z on the outside. You know what? Maybe every now and again, a slant or a drag over the middle of the field within the first 5 yards of the line of scrimmage could help you snap out of your funk, or running the football on 2nd and 10 instead of lining up 5 wide and throwing it out of the gun. Make the adjustment. The sooner the better, or they'll be in Cancun in a heartbeat. I understand the Knicks are immovable, or they are not an immovable object at home in the playoffs. Not against all of the Pistons' wins in the previous series came at Madison Square Garden. Sixers gave him fits last year, and I understand different roster, different team, but under Thibodeau in 2021, Trae Young's claim to fame was his magnificent performances at MSG. So they are far from invulnerable within that building. And the Celtics, in their history with this group, have had their fair amount of success at MSG. That has to continue on Saturday afternoon preferably, because come Monday night, it could be too little too late. Could be. And that building is going to be, now it's going to cost you essentially a second mortgage to get into the damn place, but that building is going to be on fire tomorrow afternoon. We'll see how the Celtics bounce back and how they handle it to start. Will be a sight to behold at MSG coming up later on this weekend. Switching gears now to the National Football League and breaking news, well, not breaking news, but news that occurred earlier this week with the Baltimore Ravens on Monday evening, late Monday afternoon. They announced that they cut their longtime kicker since 2012 and the last remaining player of the 2012 Ravens championship team, that in Justin Tucker. Now, the Ravens released a statement via GM Eric DaCosta on the Ravens' decision to release Justin Tucker. And I read it here for you in case you have not heard it or read it, and I give you my thoughts. Sometimes, quote, sometimes football decisions are incredibly difficult, and this is one of those instances. Considering our current roster, we have made the tough decision to release Justin Tucker. Justin created many significant, unforgettable moments in Ravens history. His reliability, focus, drive, and resilience and extraordinary talent made him one of the league's best kickers for over a decade. We are grateful for Justin's many contributions while playing for the Ravens. We sincerely wish him and his family the very best in their next chapter of their lives. Now, here's the problem I have with that. The Ravens, the fact that they are framing their organizational logic to make it seem like that they cut the Ravens because he had an atrocious game the 1st of December against the Philadelphia Eagles, a little rough to stomach. Justin Tucker would still be employed by the Baltimore Ravens until the NFL's investigation was deemed final and complete. He would still be a Raven if he did not have that clunker of a season he had for him last year. If he had the great seasons he had from 2012 through 2023, he would still be a Baltimore Raven, at least in the moment right here in the middle of the offseason in early May. He would still be employed by the Baltimore Ravens if he put up a productive, successful season for them this past season in 2024. The only way I would figure in an alternative universe we had a damn good 2024 season where he would not be unemployed is in the event in which the NFL finalizes their investigation and they come down with significant punishments. or if he ends up losing the lawsuits and he's got to fork up the money. Those are the only instances where he is no longer a Raven if he had a solid season. But because of the fact that he did not have a solid season, the Ravens are basically going to use that as a crutch to cut one of their more popular players since his time as a rookie back in 2012. I mean, up until Derrick Henry's arrival this past season in 2024, without a shadow of a doubt, the second most popular player on the Ravens in the Lamar Jackson era, bar none, has been Justin Tucker. There is not a Raven player that gets a louder roar of a cheer from the crowd. I know. I've been to many Raven games. I was at the one in 2022, that Sunday night where he beat the Bengals on a game-winning field goal at the gun. There is not a Raven player outside of Lamar Jackson prior to Derrick Henry's arrival, not a Raven player that gets more cheers and gets more screams and more love from the fan base at the games, on the internet, wherever, in public, than Justin Tucker. Second most popular player on a football team that has Lamar Jackson on it. Third most popular after Derrick Henry in 2024, especially after the 2024 season that he had. But for them to basically use his bad, subpar 2024 season as a morality insurance crutch to cut JT, rather than just coming out and saying, you know what, after they gave us the zero tolerance policy stuff earlier, saying, you know what, like we heard from them at the Combine in Indianapolis in early March, I can't defend that. I can't defend that. Rather than them saying, you know what, based on the zero tolerance policy, the EDC personally, and one John Harbaugh that said this was Eric Acosta, the GM of the Ravens, that came out there in front of a microphone when he met the media in Indianapolis during Combine Week in early March and said the Ravens got a zero tolerance policy for heinous behavior from our players and people that represent our franchise. Those are not Jai Shields' words or Justin Tucker's words. Those are Eric Acosta's words. And then for him to turn around and basically say, among other things, we cut Justin Tucker, that making a football decision. We're cutting Justin Tucker because essentially he cost us games last year, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he's under NFL investigation for sexual misconduct with these massage parlors and these massage therapists. I mean, it's a little weak, little soft, and kind of sort of speaking out of both sides of your mouth. And playing both ends of the coin. Because, again, if he had not shanked all those kicks in the Eagle game, along with the missed kicks, and he had in the Steeler game, and all, if he had a Justin Tucker-like season prior to 2024, I guarantee you, the missed kicks he had week 1 against Kansas City, I guarantee you he would still be a Raven as of this moment if he had a productive season. He might cut him in August or in late July when the investigation wraps up and the season's looming, but in early May, he'd still be on him. That key card to one winning drive would still work. Would still work. If he put together a damn good season for the Ravens and kicked their way to an AFC Championship or a Super Bowl, he would still be a Raven. So I don't hear none of this foolishness that it came down to a football decision. No, it did not come down to a football decision because if it did, he'd still be on the team. He put together a halfway decent season. I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear it. Just like Ray Rice, they had no problems washing their hands with Ray Rice when they found out he couldn't run the football for me and rack up 5.5, 6 yards a clip. When they found out Ray Rice was a shell of his former self, they washed their hands with him and brought in Justin Forsett and all the other running backs that they had prior to J.K. Dobbins and Justice Hill, and now Derrick Henry. They washed their hands of Ray Rice. The moment they realize that, he's a woman beater, he's a wife beater, and he can't run the football for us worth a damn anymore, it's the end of you. So I don't want to hear the Ravens sit up here and act like and pat themselves on the back like they did the right thing when their reasoning for cutting JT was a football based common NFL offseason business decision, not because he's got over a dozen of sexual misconduct cases up his ass that he has to account and answer for. And again, this one look as bad if EDC did not come out in front of the media and stand 10 toes down, Mr. Firm, and say we got a zero tolerance policy when he met and talked to the media at the Combine in early March. If he does not say that 2 months ago, we maybe are having a different conversation, or at the very least have a differencing opinion of Eric DeCosta. But for him to put his toes down, foot in the ground, where no zero tolerance policy, and then turn around and say, we're going to cutting Justin Tucker because of football decisions, it comes across as very weak, very tone deaf, and very spineless. Trying to cover both ends. So that's not the right thing to do. If it's about football, don't give me the zero tolerance policy nonsense. As a matter of fact, if the Ravens really wanted to show me teeth, what they should have done is cut his ass the moment the illegal tampering period began. During the bye week, we flirted with that idea that they possibly could have done that during the bye after the Eagle debacle in early December. We certainly talked about it here on this show. They could have cut him then if it was about football. They could have cut him after the Bills game. They could have cut him the week of the Super Bowl, the week of championships. They've had multiple weeks since they've last played a game where they could have cut Justin Tucker if they were so disgusted with his poor kicking. Had many of opportunities. They didn't have to wait around until they finally drafted a kicker in the draft up in Green Bay a few weeks ago and got him in the building. They said, you know what, we don't know who our new kicker is going to be in 2025 and beyond, but we know good and damn well it ain't going to be this guy. And I've seen many of football teams do it with more positions, or I should say more expensive positions than their place kicker. So I don't want to hear it. Do not want to hear it. Nor do I want to hear the idea that the Dallas Cowboys all of a sudden are going to become some big-time serious football team because they traded for George Pickens, a borderline locker room cancerous malcontent that's going to flip out and throw his first fit the first time he detects he's not getting the football as much and as frequent as he should from Dak Prescott. He's targeting CeeDee Lamb too much and on passing downs. The first sign of trouble, you're in for a rude awakening, Dallas. And I am not under any set of circumstances envious of Brian Schottenheimer. First year as an NFL head coach, he's got to sit up here and deal with George Pickens' antics. Good luck. Good freaking luck with that, buddy. Because when it's Thanksgiving and the Dallas Cowboys are in a situation against Kansas City or against whomever, and they got to find a way to edge out a victory to save their season and/or to keep their playoff hopes alive, and CeeDee Lamb has 8 targets in the first half, and George Pickens only been thrown to twice. Be prepared when he's kicking and screaming and throwing his helmet all over the place in front of 100,000 people at Jerry World and 35 million watch on. Just be prepared for that. And again, did Brian Schottenheimer or Jerry Jones's old senile ass, did they watch George Pickens' performance on the sideline, in the huddle, after and in between whistles, and during and in between the white line? Did he watch George Pickens' all-around performance in Week 18 on January the 4th against the Bengals that Saturday night? Did he see that game? Did he see how he played? Did he see how he played? And more importantly, did he see how he carried himself? He single-handedly lost that game for the Steelers that night. And here it is. Jerry Jones thinks, I can catch lightning in a bottle and let me trade for George Pickens, thinking I did something. Again, give me a break. Give me a freaking break. You know what the George Pickens trade helps? It helps you fantasy football players and those of y'all that love to bet the receiving props. And there's a Dallas Cowboy game on, you have to sit up there and watch it so you have extra skin in the game. So rather than just hammering everything CeeDee Lamb, you have an opportunity to also bet George Pickens on the DL in case CeeDee Lamb either gets double, triple teamed, or has a lousy game. That's all that trade does. It affects the football landscape in the gambling sector, not in the X's and O's winning and losing games leading to Super Bowl championship sector. Because still, by default, the Dallas Cowboys are the third best team in that division with a big ass gap between the second and the third best quarterback within that division. Again, I said it when my team and Joe Burrow got us to the Super Bowl and got us a victory on Championship Sunday. I said it when they did what they did 3-4 years ago, and I'll say it again with Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels accomplished more in one lone season, his first season in the National Football League, than Dak Prescott has done in his first 10 years. Do we have to go back and rehash this foolishness over again? Do we have to? Because I'll do it. I don't want to do it on May 9th, but I'll do it. Please stop falling for the okie doke and the Kool-Aid with the Cowboys. Enough is enough. Again, one more time, Maya Angelou, when somebody shows you who they are, you believe them the first time. Not the 15th, not the 77th, the first time. The first time. Quickly. With the NFL schedule due to come out later on this week, here's what I want from Mr. Goodell and the people that work up in the league office that put the schedule together. I could give a shit about the international games. I would prefer the Bengals not to have one, so I don't have to wake up at 9:30 in the morning, blow off church so I can cuss up and down the walls at Zach Taylor, throwing a smoke screen on 3rd and 8, 5 yards behind the line. Can I not have that, please? I don't want the international games unless you're going to give it to me that first Friday of the season after the kickoff game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So outside, I don't want the international games. I'm not relatively interested in the international games. Apparently it looks like that Friday game, the second game of the season, is going to be a game that's going to be on YouTube. Not YouTube TV, but YouTube. So you're going to be able to watch and stream the game for free. It's the least the NFL could do, the gritty bastards. So it's not going to be behind a paywall a la Peacock last year with the Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. But, I mean, it is what it is. I don't mind that game being on, being not on regular television. It's just, I mean, it is YouTube. Everybody has it on their phone. The website, everybody knows like the back of their hand. A lot of smart TVs, if they don't have YouTube TV, they at least have YouTube on, within the interface. So I don't mind, and you're also asking, now they haven't started fall TV programming yet. This Friday after Labor Day, they haven't started yet. So I mean, if they wanted to, they could put the game on CBS, on Fox, or on NBC, but it is what it is. That's just a little side note. But main reason of this little segment of this program is that I wanted to give you my kickoff, Thanksgiving, and Christmas games wish list, if I may. The kickoff game, let's not overcomplicate it. Played in a championship game last year. One of the hotter and more attractive and more uprising and entertaining football teams that was last season in the Washington Commanders. Two best teams in the division. A lot of people's eyes not mentioning the Detroit Lions. They're two out of the top 4, top 5 best teams in the NFC that have the best odds to make it to the Super Bowl in San Francisco coming up this upcoming winter. So why overthink it? Why get cute? Give us one of the two best quarterbacks in the league and the two best black QBs in the league, and Jayden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. Give me Commanders and Eagles. Hopefully it's not a 40-point blowout this time. The Commanders seeing the banner unveiled might spark a little nice raging, burning fire within them, and you could get a hell of a game. And considering that the last handful of kickoff games, we've gotten some absolute great ones, highlighted obviously by a sensational game by the Ravens and the Chiefs last season in 2024. You hang your head that you possibly could get the same, and then obviously the year before that with the Lions and the Chiefs. The year before that in 2023. Hopefully you make it 3 for 3. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate things. Give us Commanders and Eagles week 1 at the Link that first Thursday night of the season. Thanksgiving, it's Fox's turn to go to Detroit. CBS's turn to go to Dallas. So give us Packers and Lions, the two teams out of the North that made the playoffs last year. Solid, relatively entertaining game. Those two teams played the Thursday night after Thanksgiving in early December. Again, let's not overcomplicate things. Just stick with what's best. Matter of fact, let me check the Detroit Lions home opponents because some teams don't necessarily have a large assortment of top tier quality home opponents this year. Detroit, their home games are within the division, and they get Dallas. See, the Lions' home games this year are not that good outside of the division. Dallas, the Giants, the Browns, Pittsburgh, and Tampa. You're not now. Their road games are eye catching. The Commanders, the Eagles, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Rams. But their home game schedule, the quality of their home opponents this year, among the bottom tier in all of football is outside of the division. Again, Dallas, the Giants, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Tampa. The Steelers don't have a quarterback, so I don't want to see Pittsburgh. I wouldn't mind seeing Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but maybe that could be a loss. Go to one too many times with Todd Bowles. That could be a lost season, so you could be stuck with a bad game. You just don't know. Hang your hat on what you know most likely could be. Again, nothing in sports is guaranteed. If it was a perfect predictable science, everybody could do it. But the highest percentage rate of a team you would figure that would be up the standard come about week 12, week 13 of the season, whenever part of the season that hits the week of Thanksgiving, you stick with what you know is going to be a given most likely, and that is the Green Bay Packers. Packers and Lions, game number 1 on Thanksgiving. Game number 2 on Thanksgiving, what I want, Chiefs and Cowboys. The Chiefs, as hard as this is to fathom with Patrick Mahomes, have never played on Thanksgiving since he's been the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. They've played on Christmas a few times. They have not played on Thanksgiving. They've played on Black Friday. They have not played on Thanksgiving. Let us see the Kansas City. If it's the NFL, if you're the NFL up in the league office, is this the thing about? We kill them all the time for being greedy, but some of the times you can kill the NFL for just not putting two and two together and just not using basic common sense and just seeing what's right in front of them. If they somehow do not, with CBS's turn to go to Dallas for Thanksgiving this year, if they don't put the Kansas City Chiefs in Dallas to play the Cowboys this year, they've missed the boat completely. The Cowboys home opponents this year outside of the division: Green Bay, Kansas City, the Chargers, the Vikings, and the Cardinals. Don't overthink it. It's Mahomes. It's the Chiefs. It's the most watched football game of the year outside of Championship Sunday and the Super Bowl, which is Thanksgiving 4:30 with the Cowboys. The CBS rating gets slightly bigger of a bump when the Cowboy game is on CBS compared to when it's on Fox. Don't overthink this damn thing. Chiefs and Cowboys, 4:30, Thanksgiving, CBS, away we go. Thank me later, NFL. And then the night game, always have an opportunity to do something different. You take a look at your thinking because you want contenders playing, serious, bona fide contenders on Thanksgiving, not the Miami Dolphins like we suspect around this time last year went to Green Bay at night in late November and froze their asses off and got their asses handed to them by the Green Bay Packers. We don't want that. When the tryptophan kicking in, we got the full belly and we're fighting the Sandman at 9:30 at night after we've been up and been around people all day since noon. give us a good football game to sink our teeth into. The Ravens outside of the division they have a okay home schedule of games. I mean, they get the Patriots, which is not great. Same with the Jets. I cause the pause. Let me see the Chicago Bears become something before I automatically crown them before they play a season in 2025. But the Texans come to town, the Rams come to town, the Lions come to town, which should be very interesting. Give me out of those assortment of teams. The Texans against good football teams. I'm a little bit sick of watching them in prime time. They were on prime time a bunch last year. I don't necessarily want to see them play. I know we saw them on Christmas and they got killed by the Ravens. We saw them the Saturday before Christmas. They lost in humiliating fashion to the Chiefs the Saturday before Christmas. No, thank you. So I've seen enough of the Texans in standalone windows. They were frustratingly bad had opportunities to win, and ref ball did screw them, but they got in their own way against the Chiefs again in the divisional playoff game back in January. Give me the Rams. When was the last time they played on? I mean, I understand they played on Christmas when the team stunk against Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos a few years ago. But give me the Rams. Get out of that California heat. Come to the 410. Spend a Thanksgiving here in the cold weather for a change. Ravens and Rams Thanksgiving night on NBC. Ravens haven't played on Thanksgiving in the Lamar Jackson era yet. They played on Christmas back-to-back years, the Monday night game against San Francisco in 2023. Last year, obviously, in Houston. Heard a lot of rumblings, at least this is what my sister told me. Ravens, the players personally don't like if they're going to have if the NFL wants to schedule them to play on the holiday, fine, but let them have a game at home for a change so they're not away from their families and have to get on cross country red eyes to be home in time for Christmas. So it's here. So it sounds like the Ravens are open to playing on a holiday so long as they get one in their own building for a change, something they have not had, which I think off the top of my head since 2013 when they were the defending champions with the infamous Mike Tomlin, Jacoby Jones snafu by the sideline. So give the Ravens another home game for the first time in about 12 years, Thanksgiving night, hosting Stafford and the L.A. Rams. I don't understand how you go wrong. A classic NFC North rivalry. They've played each other on Thanksgiving for 100 years. And the Packers and the Lions, two playoff teams from last year. You got the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, which is an automatic draw. They could be winless and they'd still get 35, 40 million people watching the damn game. The Chiefs, they're what they bring, stands on its own. From the Taylor Swift nonsense I can't stand. Also, because the Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the land, 3 consecutive Super Bowl appearances, back-to-back Super Bowl champions in the 22-23 season. I mean, CBS, Jim Nantz. I mean, it stands on its own. And then obviously the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, another superstar. And obviously you bring in the LA market with the Rams, Stafford, and McVay so he can freeze his nice hairstyle off in 20-degree weather, which will bring me a bright smile on my face. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to root for the Rams again anyway, because knowing my team, they're going to need help in order to pluck the division from the good old Baltimore Ratbirds. And then Christmas Day, you're going to get the 2 games on Netflix. You're going to have to deal with it. But because Thanksgiving falls on a Thursday, and Amazon, they pay just as much of a hefty fee to carry NFL games as the likes of Netflix. Jeff Bezos got screwed by one big-time entity. Be damned if he's going to get screwed by another one. So it seems like you would figure that Amazon Prime, under their regular Thursday Night Football package of games, is going to get the night game coming up this year on Thursday Night Football on Amazon. So, and let's work backwards and forwards this time. Where shall we send Al, Herb Street, Carissa Thompson, Sherman, Brian Fitzpatrick, Tony Gonzalez, and the gorgeous Taylor Rooks this Christmas? They're going to be spending it in Minnesota. Bengals, Vikings, Jay Jettas, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. Hear me out. Inside, indoors, all nice, warm, and toasty in Minnesota, so they don't have to freeze their asses off and deal with the big-time snowstorm. The Vikings can wear their all-white, glacier winter white uniforms. The Bengals can, they can either go all black, which is a nice aesthetic going up against the opponent that's got all white uniforms. They can wear their all black home uniforms. They can get real creative and go all orange. So you have a nice uniform aesthetic there. Minnesota in the wintertime at Christmas. I understand it's indoors, but it's kind of, but in my opinion, would provide a little bit more of a warmer and cozier feeling. And if they were playing at the University of Minnesota like they were before US Bank was built, and I understand you're taking a flyer on JJ McCarthy being something, but you know what? They were a playoff team last year. You got the two of the best wide receivers in the National Football League the two teams have not played each other since Jamar Chase's first ever game in week 1 of the 2021 season. Something different. You could end up getting a solid football game. If not Bengals Vikings, Bengals Bills up at Orchard Park. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow. The two games on Amazon, Commanders and Chargers. Give the Commanders more primetime games. They did not have a whole hell of a lot of them on the front end of the season. Even in the back end, they kind of had to shoehorn a few in. They shoehorned the 425 game in against Chicago. They shoehorned the Sunday night game in against Atlanta. They did not get as many primetime games, arguably, as they should have, albeit, the Thursday night game against Philly and the Monday night game the third week of the year against Cincinnati. Give them more primetime games. Let me see them going against the big-time juggernauts. Herbert versus Daniels for the first time on Christmas. This game's going to be in L.A. SoFi, what the hell? Now, Al may actually want to pull some strings so he spends Christmas at home in Los Angeles rather than in, Minnesota or in Orchard Park. But we got to be creative here on the show. Commanders and Chargers, the second game on Netflix. First game, why not? Two playoff teams. Take a big risk. It could be a blowout, but two teams with solid defenses like to run the football. Bo Nix coming off of a sensational rookie campaign. Broncos are going to be a damn good football team to keep an eye out for in 2025. Obviously going to be a playoff contender going in. Why not? Broncos, Eagles, two cold weather teams that don't play each other all that often at the link. Give the defending Super Bowl champions. Hey, the Chiefs were defending champs. They played on Christmas. Might as well keep the damn tradition going, if you can call it that. If not tradition, you can call it a coincidence. Have the Eagles play Christmas afternoon at the link, taking on the Denver Broncos. And in every game, you got outside of the Cowboys, you got playoff teams, and on both holidays, you got playoff teams playing in every single window outside of the Cowboys on Thanksgiving and the Bengals on Christmas. You got a playoff team everywhere you look from last year. The Packers, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Ravens, the Broncos, Eagles, Chargers, Commanders, and Vikings. Can't go wrong. And the Cowboys are the Cowboys. They sell themselves whether they make the playoffs or not on Thanksgiving. And the Bengals got the second best quarterback in all of football in Joe Burrow. And the best wide receiver on the planet, best wide receiver tandem on the planet, in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, who they just got signed back in, obviously, mid-March. So it is going to be very, very, as my phone rings, I apologize, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the schedule shakes out next week.
Sorry about that, folks. Had to take an urgent phone call. Couldn't come back to the radio station, so it took my time away from completing the rest of this good show. But now everything is squared away. We're back. Obviously, as you can tell, I am in my home studio this time, and that is where we are going to conclude today's episode of the I'm Until I Can Tell You podcast. Since the show's been long enough and I've had a long day, I'm going to save my moaning and groaning. The Orioles, knowing them, they'll get swept by the Angels over the weekend. So, and they got an off day on Monday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and then they come back home on Tuesday. So we got plenty of time for me to bitch and moan about the Orioles coming up next week. So I'll postpone that part of the show for next week. But one item of business I did want to discuss before we say goodbye is the situation with Rafael Devers and essentially his refusal to move to first base after the season-ending ruptured patellar tendon that claimed victim of one Tristan Casas, the Boston Red Sox starting first baseman. My 2 cents on this, I get both schools of thought. I understand and I get, and I can somewhat sympathize with Rafael Devers because originally he got paid to be the team starting third baseman. Like before training camp, spring training, whatever you want to call it, opened for the Red Sox this past winter, he was there. He was signed, still delivered under contract to be the team starting third baseman. Be the team starting third baseman. And I went on the show and said, you know what, he's got to do it best for the team. Suck it up. Going from third base to DH is no big deal, which it isn't. I mean, I understand like there's a certain way that players that play in the field every day and hit train their body and their mind. So I understand it's not exactly as easy as just, kicking back and essentially being a part-time everyday starter, so to speak, being a designated hitter, but there's no additional physical work or preparation that has to go into going from playing in the field to being strictly a DH. There isn't. It's different between going from playing third base to DH, outfield DH. Yes, mentally kind of have to rewire yourself to be used to not being in the field and, knowing that you don't have to go out and take, shag fly balls and take grounders, at 2:00 in the afternoon once you get to the ballpark and you get to spend a little bit more time locked in and focused on hitting. You get if you're at home, you get the top half of the innings off. If you're on the road, you get the bottom half of the innings off. So you get more time again to lock in and focus on your craft as a hitter. So I understand all that, but there's no extra physical work that goes into going from playing in the field to becoming a designated hitter. And again, I was on record back in March saying and boldly making it known to you guys that he should shut the hell up, bite the bullet, be the better teammate. Alex Bregman is a better third baseman than Rafael Devers. They didn't bring him in if they didn't feel like he was going to bring an immediate positive contribution to the team. Suck it up and go ahead and move on to DH. But in fairness to Rafi Devers, it is rather presumptuous. I won't say ignorant, but rather presumptuous and very borderline unfair to Rafael Devers to expect him to learn how to play first base and to be the team's new first baseman at the hands of a catastrophic season-ending injury that nobody saw coming 2 weeks ago. I think it's very presumptuous and very it's borderline ignorant on the Red Sox part. Saying, okay, yeah, Casas is out. Yes, we understand we wanted Rafi to move from third base to DH before the season started. Now we're a month and change into the new season. We want him to go from DH and then all of a sudden play back in the field again. So, and I can understand where Rafi Devers is coming from because it's like the Red Sox. I understand different circumstances. No one foresaw Casas' injury, but it's like to start from March through essentially 2 weeks ago, the message was, Rafi, you're better equipped to making our ball club better by you strictly being a DH. We don't want you in the field. You're nowhere near as good as an infielder as Alex Bregman is. We want you on the bench when the defense is out there on the field, and we strictly want you just to be our version of Big Papi. He's hitting 255. He's hitting 255 this year with 6 home runs with an OPS of 834. So I get it. I get where Rafael Devers is coming from. It's like, wait, originally you guys thought it was better for the sake of the ball club for me to be a DH. Now that a catastrophic injury has now gone down, and all of a sudden my defensive value has all of a sudden skyrocketed again magically in the name of an injury, and you want me to go ahead and learn how to play first base on the fly? So I get where Devers is coming from, where he's like, well, hold on now. Hold on. Timeout. You're giving me mixed signals, number one. Number two, I'm not a robot, okay? It is going to take me a decent amount. I don't think in his career he's ever played first base in his life. It says here on the article I'm reading from Yahoo Sports, he's a long time third baseman. So I don't get the impression that he's ever played first base before in his life, at least at the MLB level with the Boston Red Sox. So he has to learn that on the fly while the Red Sox are about what, 2.5, 3 games, give or take, at the time you're watching this podcast. They're right there, right behind the Yankees for first place in the East. They're not a rebuilding team that's, out of it, that's 10 or 15, 20 games under, and nobody's going to care. The Red Sox are going to have some meaningful games coming up later on in the season, and they can't afford to lose games hand over fist because of Rafael Devers' inexperience at first base, and there's a miscommunication between he and the starting pitcher or a second baseman on who's in charge to cover first base. It's just they can ill afford that right now. They can ill afford that. Bill Buckner goes right through his legs. It's why play with fire? They're 20-19, 2 games out of first place. And if you take a look at their schedule, they got a weekend series going on right this second against the Royals, and then they hit the road from Kansas City to Detroit to play the Tigers at the beginning part of next week, and then they come home for a lengthy homestand against the Braves and the Orioles on the front and the back end of the homestand, who are desperate baseball teams, with the Mets smacked in the middle for 3 games. And those are games that the Red Sox are going to need in a worse way. And they can, and Rafael Devers is like, well, hold on. We're trying to win something here. Why are we experimenting on the fly like we're the Chicago White Sox? So I get and I can understand where he's coming from. It's very unfair to him. They brought him in to do one thing. It's like when you're on, and I've been there. Obviously not as a Major League Baseball player, but I've been there where I am hired to originally do a job. They asked me to do something that they didn't necessarily bring me in to do originally, but because I'm flexible, team player, this, that, and the third, I'll do it. And then they think, okay, he said yes to this, then he obviously is going to say yes to that. And that is a little bit more of a higher ask than the this. And then you're sitting there as the employee saying, well, damn, I understand, all for one for all, do what's best for the team, be a team player, but this is ridiculous. You guys brought me in to do X, Y, and Z, and instead, because I'm a nice guy and I was flexible the first time, you guys want me to do LMNOP. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating. Especially when you were not originally trained or went through the proper practice and get the necessary reps to do something that's out of your comfort zone. You got to essentially learn it on the fly. Personal experience, when I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods a few years ago, they originally brought me in to work in the back, to be in charge of their merchandise, getting the shipments off the truck, stocking the shelves early morning before the store opens up, keeping inventory on a day-to-day basis of the things that we had in store, putting together delivery orders for customers to use via the Dick's Sporting Goods app. And they asked me one time, do you have any problems ringing up on the register? I said no. What happened? My boss, Dick's Sporting Goods, took advantage of me and ran with it, and he shoved my ass over to the dull end of the store near the entryway of the Westminster Mall, which, if you've been there and are a Maryland former and or current resident, that mall is as dead as the Orioles offense with runners in scoring position. And he stuck me over there where I had to essentially learn how to be an excellent cash register guy or on the fly. And he took me out of my comfort zone and took advantage of my ability to be flexible. And kind of, sort of, is what the Red Sox are doing to Devers. But I will say, in the case of the Red Sox, once upon a time, there was such thing as a player that would move a mountain if that's what his team asked him to do, that would increase the likelihood of them winning baseball games. I get both sides of the coin. I get Devers' frustration, and I get the Red Sox being annoyed. First, you came in and you kicked and streamed and made a spectacle out of us bringing Alex Bregman in down Fort Myers when spring training opened up in early March. You made a big stink about that, and now a month and changes of the season, you're bitching and moaning, and then on top of that, calling out the front office because you don't want to learn how to play first base on the fly. Which I get it, and I understand you're frustrated. From a Red Sox perspective, I get it. I mean, and keep in mind, it's the same guy that could not get a hit if the fate of the universe depended on it the first 2 weeks of the season. Couldn't hit his way out of a paper bag the first 2 weeks of the season. Couldn't buy a hit. And now he's kicking and screaming essentially twice for the second time in less than 3 months over a position change. And then calling out the front office to boot, causing and creating a big spectacle that's going to be a big-ass locker room distraction from now until eventually this gets resolved. Which is not the right thing to do. Because then you're going to create an awkward situation with the rest of your teammates. You're going to get your teammates thinking that this is a prima donna that thinks he's above the Call of Duty within the rest of the other 25 guys within the locker room. They're going to have to answer questions from beat writers. Now, they're lucky now that the Boston Celtics essentially, are two losses away from saying bye-bye Cancun on 3 for the summer. But the minute either the Celtics get their act together with the win at MSG this weekend, or they say goodnight, and this situation continues to fester, the noise in that city is just going to get louder and louder and louder and louder. He ought to write the Celtics, Tatum, Brown, and Mazzulla personally, because he would be the number one villain in the city of Boston within some parts of that fan base. Standing 10 toes down and sticking up for yourself is one thing, but airing out dirty laundry and making a distraction out of it all, and then publicly criticizing your bosses to the media and that city, that baseball team, with what they intend to accomplish, that's not going to bode well. Now, I don't think they're going to trade him because he's too valuable to that baseball team. So I don't think he's going anywhere unless things really get hairy. But that's just, from his perspective, that's not the right thing to do. Calling out the GM saying, quote, "I don't understand some of the decisions that the GM makes." You may be right in that, but like I say, there's a time and a place for everything. It's not the time, not the place. And this is not also the first time, by the way, Devers has criticized the Red Sox front office, which is part of the reason why they brought Bregman in to begin with, as we discussed back in early March. But this entire situation be very interesting to see what becomes of it going forward. I get both sides of the coin. I get where the Red Sox are coming from, because historically, if you were to ask a player 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago, hey, I'm going to need you to learn this position on the fly, especially because of a freak season-ending injury, odds are guys would, even if they didn't necessarily want to initially, they'd grin and bear it, put a smile, manufactured smile on their face, and they do it because it was in the best interest of the team that can give them the best opportunity for them to continue to win games going forward, especially if they were on a contending team. If they were on an average team, a non-playoff team, or just a downright atrocious team, rebuilding team, it'd be a separate conversation. But that's not the case with the Boston Red Sox. And I'll also get Rafael Devers' side of the coin, because in essence, the Red Sox should have more depth at their corner positions to where they don't have to ask Rafael Devers to play first base a month and change into the new season. They don't have to, at the last second, bring in Alex Bregman to improve the position at third base. I mean, wrong place, wrong time, but doesn't negate the fact that he does have a point. And it is also a little kind of, again, very presumptuous and ignorant of the Red Sox part to say to him, essentially, you're not good enough for you to play in the field because Alex Bregman is here, and to basically stand 10 toes down on it that you're better as a designated hitter without a glove than you are with a glove. And then I get it, the freak injury to Costas, but still, a month and change later, turn around and say, oh, you know what, Rafa, you are so desperately needed and so greatly valuable with the glove in your hand, we're going to need you to play first base from now until the end of the year. If I was Rafael Devers, I'd be a little bit put off by that too. I both sides. I agree and understand with both sides' viewpoints. I also disagree with how both sides have handled this ordeal. I see both sides of the coin, but from Rafael Devers' perspective, I would be a little bit annoyed and miffed with the Red Sox too, because from employee to employer, that's not the right thing to do. Nothing chaps my ass at the time, and just in general, nothing bothers me more than when an employer takes advantage of an employee's niceness, team goal-oriented mindset, and their strong work ethic and their versatility. Nothing chaps my ass more than that. Now, I understand Rafael Devers is making handsome money to play baseball, and I was making 10s and 20s working at Dick's Sporting Goods, but the principle is still the same. That's not, if you bring in somebody for a specific certain job, you either got two choices. Either ask them on the front end if they're flexible to X, Y, and Z, and appropriately train them and teach them to accompany their flexibility before they jump into the deep end of the pool. Otherwise, shut the hell up and let them work at the specific area that you hired them to work in. Those are your two options. I don't care if it's a part-time job in retail or if you are a designated hitter slash third baseman for the Boston Red Sox. If I don't blame now how he's gone about it has been a tad has been just as unprofessional as the Red Sox have been at going about this, but I don't blame him for being miffed. I don't. I again, not to that level, but I've been in that similar circumstance, and it's not a fun feeling. And those of you out there, whether it's your current job now or or with your jobs in the past, it gets under your skin in ways that the most annoying collection of coworkers in the world can't. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes from this whole situation. That's it, really. I told you I postponed my Oriole rant until next week. We touched on everything. If you like the show, new to it, please don't hesitate to subscribe. Thanks for joining us. Follow yours truly on Twitter, Instagram, Threads. The works at the J Shield. Follow the show on Instagram at @Amatella_podcast. The show on Twitter at Amatella_it_TIS. Until next week, you guys are great. Subscribe. Be blessed. Peace. We are gone.